My mother asked me when my wedding was while I had already been married for 3 months. She said it casually, like she was asking about the weather. We were standing in her kitchen while she flipped through fabric samples for my younger sister, Julia engagement party. Her eyes stayed on the table the whole time. Have you even thought about colors yet? She asked. You are almost 30. I remember just staring at her because 3 months earlier I had stood beside Max in a quiet courthouse while rain tapped softly against the windows. No orchestra, no flower wall, no crowd holding up phone. Afterward, we walked 3 blocks to a tiny Italian restaurant and shared tartamusa while our couch dried over the back of our chairs. And it was perfect. I am Eva, 29 years old, and restore vintage wedding dresses for a living. I spend my days carefully repairing lace, sewing laws, parallel back into place, preserving memories that matter to somebody. Funny considering how invisible my own life had always been. In my family, Julia was the event. I was the background music. My graduation dinner became a celebration for Julia getting her learner permit. My promotion somehow turned into a conversation about Julia's breakup. Even when I bought my first apartment, my mother spent the entire dinner showing people Julia vacation photos. So, when Max proposed quietly over coffee in the rain, I decided for once that something could belong only to me. Still, I wanted my family there. We mailed real invitation, cream paper, handwritten addresses, signature confirmation. The lowest possible test for people who claim to love you is simply responding. Nobody did. No call, no text, no confusion, just silence. Week passed, nothing, and I almost told her right then, but she interrupted me to ask about Dusty Rose. I carried a folder to that Christmas dinner, not because I wanted drama, because I had learned that truth without evidence just gets called dramatic. The house is Nepal look perfect from the outside, white light wrapped around the porch railings, cinnamon candles burning in every room, my mother's expensive plate lined up perfectly across the dining table. But the second I walked in, I felt that same old pressure in my chest, the feeling that somehow I was visiting a performance instead of family. Julia arrived 40 minutes late, wearing a cream coat and carrying a bottle of wine my mother had clearly paid for. Mom rushed to help her take off her boots while Dad joked that the star finally made it. Nobody noticed I had already been there near and hard. Dinner moved that way it always did, every topic somehow bending toward Julia's upcoming wedding, Venus, flower, sitting charts. The dad lifted his glass and smiled at Julia. You know, he said, a father only gets one chance to give his daughter a wedding day. The whole table nodded. I sat there quietly. I already married. A few minutes later, Mom turned toward me like she suddenly remembered I exist. So, Eva, she asked, cutting her turkey, when's you are? Julia immediately looked down at her plate, no confused, warned. I set my fork down carefully. I already had mine. The room went completely still. Mom blinked, Dad laughed once short and confused. What are you talking about? He asked. I got married 3 months ago. Dad face hardened instantly. That's impossible. We never got invitation. Not hurt, not shocked, accusing. So I reached beside my chair and placed the folder on the table. Inside were delivery receipt, signature confirmation, photos of every envelope before I mailed them. Julia's signature was on all three receipts. Nobody spoke. Then I pulled out printed screenshot Mera had sent me 2 weeks earlier. The first read, I am not giving them to mom before my album night. The second came minutes later. Let her have her secret little courthouse thing. My mother covered her mouth. Dad slowly turned toward Julia, and that was when she broke. I panicked. She whispered. Everyone already accepted my wedding to be perfect. Her mascara was already running. I did not want people comparing them. I stared at her. You had my wedding because you thought people might admire me more than you. Julia started getting harder, but nobody rescued her this time. Dad leaned back in his chair, disgust written all over his face. No, Julia, he said quietly. You did that yourself. Mom shook her head slowly. This is not an apology, she said. This is an excuse. I reached into the folder one last time and placed our wedding photo in the center of the table. Max smiling in that ran. Me laughing outside the courthouse, the little Italian restaurant glowing behind us. Not as a gift, as proof that the moment existed whether they acknowledge it or not. Then I looked directly at all of them. From tonight forward, I am done finding peace in this family with my silence. Nobody interrupted me. No more dinner where my life is treated like background noise. No more pretending. Julia feeling matters more than everyone else's choice. And until there's real accountability, Julia does not get access to my life. Julia started sobbing, but for once, her tears did not pull me back into the room. People accept revenge to look loud, but sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply remove yourself from the role that allowed someone to hurt you. I left my parents' house that Christmas feeling strangely came. Not happy, not vindicated, just finished. 10 minutes into the drive home, Julia texts me, "You ran Christmas." I stared at the message for a long moment before replying. No, I ended a lie. Then I blocked her number. At 1 in the morning, my mom sent me one of the wedding photos I had left on the table. It was a picture of Max kissing my forehead outside the courthouse while rain fell around us. Under it, she wrote, "You look beautiful. I am so sorry." And 2 in the morning, Dad sent a message to. I thought being proud of Julia meant I was being a good father. That one hurt more than I accepted. The fallout came quietly after that. Julia was told she needed to move out by the end of January. My parents stopped paying for her car insurance and refused to cover the growing debt from her oversized wedding plans. A week later, Julia sent one final email. Short this time, no excuse. I was jealous. You deserve your family tire. I read it twice before answering. I am not ready to rebuild yet. And for the first time in my life, I realized that was enough. 3 months later, Max and I had our first anniversary dinner. My parents came, so did his family and my aunt. Julia was not invited. Near dessert, my dad stood to make a toast. His voice shook the entire time. I missed the day I should have witnessed, he said, looking at me. But I'm grateful to be invited into the life you are building now. And sitting there beside Max, I understood something important. I no longer needed to be beg people to see me. I had finally chosen myself loudly enough to that they had no choice but to. Being low maintenance does not mean you deserve low effort. Being forgiving does not mean you should become easy to erase. If your own sibling secretly hide your wedding invitation out of jealousy, would you forgive them or walk away until they learn what accountability really mean? Tell me below in your comments.